The Patriots have selected Washington wide receiver Ja'Lynn Polk, 37th overall.
Thank you. Give me the skinny on Ja'Lynn.
Ja'Lynn Polk is a dog. That's how he's been described to me. One of the most competitive receivers in this year's class. He played for that explosive offense with Michael Penix at Washington and, of course, benefited from that offense and having Rome Odunze to work alongside. But one of the most competitive guys, fights for the ball, a good route runner. He is not necessarily thought of, from the people I've spoken to, as a number one type.
Height, weight, speed?
He's going to be in that 6-foot range and probably right around the 200-pound range. You know, in the Patriots parlance, I think we're talking about a Z receiver here, James. He's probably a number two, goes in the second round, has a little bit of size, something that this Patriots receiver room doesn't have a ton of right now. James?
I think he's a good football player. Watching him at Washington, he makes plays, runs good routes, makes the contested catches. They have a few guys, a few talented players that'll get picked in this draft, just like Rome Odunze did in the first round. But I think he fits right in with this receiver group. It may not be, a number one guy that really dictates coverage, but they have a lot of talented players, and that's what we had a lot of the times when we were playing. We had some very interchangeable receivers, from Julian to Danny Amendola to Chris Hogan, where Julian was the guy, Gronk was the main targets, but each and every one of our receivers, in the room really took turns making plays, and maybe that's what they're looking to do going forward.
Got some official measurements here, Tom. 6'1", 203 pounds, not a burner. Again, this guy's not a number one receiver necessarily. Ran in the low 4.5s. I feel as though this is probably a culture-setting kind of pick. Obviously, this is a need. They need receiver help. This guy is thought to be incredibly tough and incredibly competitive. And when you are trying to establish something here, the way Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo are, and you want to try to add talent at this position, I think you get a 2-for-1 with this guy, because you get the culture add and you're addressing the need.
He comes from a really good program that's got a reputation for turning out really good guys, and he was in a competitive room, and I think that matters too. He's in the room with Rome Odunze. He's in the room with McMillan. He's competing on a very high level there. I look at this as the sort of pick where it's, okay, like this is a guy who's coming from a winning program, who is part of building something, who can be a part of something here, and who's going to be able to fit into a place that I think is going to be culture setting rather than building on what's already there.
They're going to love something like, Tom, especially in this offense, right? We've been talking about how this is sort of a variation of the Shanahan offense. We know how much Kyle Shanahan appreciates his receivers blocking. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think Patriots offensive coaches will absolutely love when it comes to Ja'Lynn Polk. He's going to get his nose in there. He brings a toughness, a quotient to this position that not a lot of guys do.
Yeah, A.D. Mitchell is still on the board. That is an ex-receiver, James White. That is a player who can burn it. We've talked about him a little bit with character concerns, very emotional player. The Patriots instead opting for Polk, who is, as by all accounts here, a dog, a guy who is going to do everything you want. Look at this group of players now. You have Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Juju Smith-Schuster, K.J. Osborne, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, and Antonio Gibson we should include as a pass catcher as well, and Ramondre. Do you think the Patriots offense has enough good players, right? I didn't mention Tyquan Thornton because the poor guy just hasn't done nothing yet. But do you think the Patriots have a good enough complement of offensive skill players, or are they all B's and C pluses?
I believe they're good enough. I think this is how our receiver groups were built for a lot of the years that I was there. There's just a lot of depth. I said Julian was the main target at the receiver position, but you had Chris Hogan, you had Malcolm Mitchell, you had Philip Dorsett. When the plays were called for them, they went out there and made plays. So I think that's what it'll be this season. Who knows who will be the starting three for them. I know Kendrick Bourne and Pop Douglas will be the number one and number two targets for them, which they more than deserve. And those guys can work the inside, they can work the outside, make contested catches. They can take those short routes and make plays that way. I think it's going to be a competitive group, and I'm excited to see what they do. I want to see Juju, bounce back in this year too. Hopefully he stays healthy. They paid him a good amount of money. I want to see him go out there, be productive this upcoming season, because they have a lot of different body types. I want to see Tyquan do something too.
Yeah.
Like I was there with Tyquan for, a few weeks during training camp, during OTAs. He has all the talent in the world. We all know he has the speed, and he can get in and out of his cuts. It's all about confidence. Maybe having, a new coaching staff, a new offensive coordinator, that sometimes that little change could, spark some new life into you.
James, as far as Tyquan Thornton, who was a second-round pick in 2021 as well, 2021 or 2020? Or 2022?
Who was the
Yeah,
Tyquan
2022.
Thornton was the 2022 second-round pick. Sorry. thank you.
So I remember watching Tyquan Thornton, James, during a training camp practice, track a ball over his shoulder that he caught basically like Willie Mays. And after that catch, Jalen Mills actually applauded him because it was such a ridiculous catch. There is talent there. Can he be an X, though? Is he too skinny? Does he fit that body type? Because the Patriots are still X-less.
Yeah, he can do it. Like I said, it's all about confidence. It's all about the reps, and it's all about building on it during practice, building chemistry with Jacoby or Drake May, whoever it may be, allowing them to feel confident when you're on the backside and you have that one-on-one coverage that you can win on the slant routes, you can win on the go routes. It's 3rd down and 5. We know you can win if I look your way. I think that's what it's all about. He has the speed to where every single corner is going to feel threatened by him just by his speed. So he has to use that to his advantage because he's quick enough to get in and out of those cuts. Like most guys that are that fast, you typically don't see them get in and out of cuts. And you have guys like Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy, who just got drafted by the Chiefs, which I don't know how the league let them get him. But Tyquan is that same type of player. He just has to go out there and prove it.
You know what's cool about him is he throttles up and down. You probably don't remember Bethel Johnson. He was here. He had one speed, and it was 4.3 all the time. Tyquan Thornton actually does throttle up and down. Ja'Lynn Polk has been officially announced. Mike Onwenu went to the podium and did that. We're going to show you some more Ja'Lynn Polk and bat it around as we talk about this because it's important to see what you just bought. And as we look at Ja'Lynn Polk coming up, I want to ask you guys, what do the Patriots look like on offense with Ja'Lynn Polk catching passes from Jacoby Brissett, Phil?
Are they going to be the most dynamic, type of offense that's going to throw down the field and give safety sweaty palms, Tom? I don't know with this player, but he played in a down-the-field strike kind of offense, and he tracks the football well. I know one thing that teams like about him is that he's not afraid to work the middle of the field. And again, I think it is important. It's not the number one thing, but I think it is important for us to point out the kind of offense we think they're going to run.
Exactly.
Those throws over the middle of the field that require timing and anticipation from the quarterback and his receivers, those are going to be the types of routes that Ja'Lynn Polk is not going to be afraid to run. He's shown that he can do that at Washington. He's been part of a big play offense. He can play down the field, even though he's a 4-5-2 guy, Tom. You can run him down the field. You can play him on the boundary. He's versatile. Play him inside and out. So those are the kinds of things, James, that I think the Patriots would have loved really in any era. Versatility, toughness, and I think the same is true for this particular offensive group that they have there now.
That's what I believe. If this offense is going to be similar to a Kyle Shanahan offense, you don't necessarily need guys to take the top off the defense. It's run, play action, get the ball out of your hands quickly, and you need guys who are going to block, make tough contested catches, and are able to run after the catch. And I think all those guys are already on this roster. We just have to wait to see how this offense actually shakes out, during training camp, preseason, when the regular season rolled around. We'll really get a good view of what they could potentially be.
All right, Ja'Lynn Polk from Washington. He is the Patriots pick at number 37. The Patriots in that trade down, Albert reporting that it was the 4th round pick that they got in exchange, correct?
Right, they got a 4th and then gave back a 5th, I believe it was.
So pick swap to move up from the 5th round.
But they get a pick in the, I think right around, I think it's 110 they were getting back. So another high-end day 3 pick.
Good. James, question I have for you. Here's a little bit more of who that? Oh, Drake May. Who that? Oh, here was the video. Let me ask
Old
you.
clips.
Let me ask you this, James.
He played at Texas Tech, so you might have just seen him there at Texas Tech.
saw him as a freshman
He
year.
transferred to Washington. Keeping you on your toes, TC.
Yeah,
How
Cap's
important is it?
bringing the freshman year video.
How important is it, James, to bring in a rookie wideout in the 2nd round to kind of marry up with your rookie quarterback? Is it positive that these guys can develop a rapport? Because Juju might be in his last year here. Kendrick Bourne coming off the injury, he might be in his last year here. You're going to have both of these guys for at least 4 years together.
Yep. You want to build that rapport. You saw, the Chicago Bears do it. They got Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze. You want to get guys that are going to build chemistry for a very long time, just like Tom did with Julian, like Tom did with Gronk. I think every QB loves to have their favorite targets, and hopefully, that's Drake May, Pop Douglas, and Ja'Lynn Polk. Maybe those are going to be, the future, and Ramondre Stevenson. Can't forget about my guy. He'll be the back there for a long time. Hopefully, he gets a deal done sometime soon.
What's the upside, do you think, that Alex Van Pelt and the Patriots offense is going to experience with Alex Van Pelt, Ben McAdoo, and the kind of the transition from Mac, and what are the difficulties they're going to face as they go into this year?
I think it's just learning all the players that they have, learning their skill sets, learning what they do well, playing to their strengths. Obviously, Jacoby got to play with the Browns, 2 years ago, so he knows that system, a little bit. So there's a lot of turnovers, a lot of new faces. I think it's all about building chemistry, building that offensive line first and foremost. I think that's the most important thing. Whenever you're building any type of scheme, it's going to start, with how well the offensive line can run block and how well they can pass protect. I think that's the thing that the Patriots are going to have to do the most.
One of the things I find interesting about this Ja'Lynn Polk selection is for fans out there who are dying for somebody who really is going to be an explosive play threat. I think he could do some of that, but he ran in the 4.5s, and so they may see that and scratch their heads and say, don't we have enough of those guys who are just sort of middling athletically? When you look at Elliott Wolf and you understand the tree that he's coming from and where the Packers and other executives that come from that tree have taken receivers in the past and where they found success, it's been in the second round. And when we're talking about Packers guys specifically, 2 guys that ran in the 4.5s, Tom, who ended up being pretty damn good. I'm not saying Ja'Lynn Polk's going to be either one of these guys. Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson.
Jordy.
Over 6 feet tall, ran in the 4.5s, but knew how to play the position and were tough. And I think that's what the Patriots think about Ja'Lynn Polk.
I believe drafted Greg Jennings in that range, too, who wound up being a really good player.
He flew.
He flew.
He flew. Do you have anything on the notion then of, Ja'Lynn Polk being a player who could play like a Jordy Nelson, like a Hunter Renfrow, those kinds of players who can be technicians? Ladd McConkey, Ladd McConkey goes off the board. There's probably some similarities there as well.
Yeah. Don't let the combine numbers and all those things fool you. These guys got to play football at the end of the day. I myself was never a test guy. I didn't run 4.4. I didn't jump a 40-inch vertical. As long as you can play football, you can take the coach and apply it to the field, be in the right places, for your quarterback, which I think Ja'Lynn Polk is a guy who did that at Washington. I think he'll do that in the NFL as well. I think that's all that matters. And guys are going to come in, ready to work, ready to push themselves. And I think everybody, in the organization, they know it's, they're turning over a new leaf. Obviously, Bill's not there. Gerard Mayo's there. There's some new energy within the building. So I think everybody wants to improve and be better. And so there's a lot of new faces. So they all got to work together to get it done.
James White, thank you for shepherding us through this second-round pick. You were terrific, man. Thank you so much. The insight was awesome. Appreciate you.
Thanks, James.
All right, Drake May weighs in on the Patriots' selection of Ja'Lynn Polk. Let's hope this guy's not too busy on social media, but he did just keep it brief with 3 words. Stud! Let's work, fire emoji. Ja'Lynn Polk, taken with the 37th overall pick by the Patriots. Drake May kind of likes it. It'll be interesting to see what kind of relationship these two build. Meanwhile, Albert Breer had plenty of reporting today on MMQB about the offers the Patriots fielded for the opportunity to get up for Drake May. Albert, what were those offers from the Giants and Vikings?
First of all, I got bad news for you. Cooper DeJean, however you want to pronounce it, is now off the board.
Au revoir, Cooper!
He's going to the Eagles. Wow. So it's been interesting to sort of dig through where the other teams were here. And you sort of see the sliding scale between trading to 6 and then trading to 11. So the Giants, in the end, did put their 2025 first-round pick on the table. So the Patriots would have been able to get a second first-round pick next year to go down 3 spots and likely get J.J. McCarthy.
So the Patriots were going to get 6 and the Giants' first-round pick from next year?
Right. And then as far as the Vikings go, the Vikings put 11, 23, and their first-round pick for next year on the table. Now, the rub there is there would have been 3 pick swaps that would have favored the Vikings. So there would have been a little bit of a give back.
For instance, just so folks know.
I mean, like you're trading a 4 for a 3 or a 5 for a 4. So you're just moving picks around. And so there would have been 3 pick swaps attached to that would have favored the Vikings. So you would have been giving up some value, but you would have wound up with, again, 2 first-round picks this year and then 2 first-round picks next year
and
as a
knowing
result
what we
of
knew
this.
going into this, where, as we reported, the Patriots were looking seriously for upwards of 4 first-round picks, my understanding was it was going to take 3 and a player. So to not get 3 and a player and then just to be swapping picks and actually moving down, it seems as if the Vikings would have known what the asking price was and were saying, you know what, we can take a Penix, we can take a McCarthy, we can take a Nix, and still have the opportunity, Phil.
That's where the depth in this quarterback class worked against the Patriots in this scenario if they were genuinely interested in getting that bag and trying to build out the roster in a little bit different fashion. So to me, Tom, those offers aren't really close to what the Patriots should have been looking to accept. And so they did what they should have done. They took the guy who has the potential to be a franchise quarterback.